Hey kiddos, welcome to another episode of the Ortho Wire podcast. I was asked to show how I do my reset Essex or Essex aligner or clear aligner or however you want to call it. This isn't Invisalign by any means. They use sophisticated computers and stuff to reset the teeth, and this is just pretty much just old school resetting the teeth and doing a suck down on it. Incisal edge. And if you have two incisal edges, I usually mark the facial one. Alright, what the doctor asked is to move this and move this. So this one I can probably do in one tray. This one is probably going to take 2 trays. When I say tray, I mean Essex or suck down or clear, whatever you call it. So that is what I'm going to be doing in this episode. Alright, I got rid of some bubbles and accentuated the gum line a little bit so that the suck down is more clean looking. They didn't get a full impression here, so I cleaned that a little bit. Alright, first thing I do is I mark the teeth using the Ortho standard of marking the teeth. So upper left 1, upper left 2, upper right 1, upper right 2. Now you may be thinking I'm backwards, but you got it's from the patient's left and right. So if you're looking at them, this is the patient's right, this is the patient's left. So upper left 1, upper left 2. So the ones we are resetting, I'm going to mark a little R, just so I know. And then I always mark on the mesial of the teeth. You might be able to see this in one of my videos. One of my first ones I did for a spring retainer. I always mark them on the mesial so I know which lateral. Sometimes these laterals, especially when you get to lower teeth, the lower anterior look a lot alike. So anyway, I'm going to mark the level of the teeth. Okay, so this is so when I reset this tooth, I'm not going to reset it too far superior or inferior, I guess those are the words, or too far up into the gums or dangling too far down. I want to keep this the same. Now what I'm going to do on this case is actually make a matrix to go over the teeth as they are right now. And I'll show you what that's for in a little bit. So let me get all that set up for you. Alright, this is Hendon White Lab Putty. The Hendon is the company I bought from here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But White Lab Putty is what you're looking for. It has a base and an activator, and you got to mix the two together, and it activates it and sets it up. I am going to try and do this on camera without messing it up. So I just get a scoop, a flat scoop, take it. Okay, according to the instructions, you need to score it. And this helps distribute the activator more evenly. You take the activation gel and you squirt 2 2-inch lines on here. And so see how those little score marks help distribute it throughout the putty. So you got to kind of work a little fast. And I'm just folding it get it to where the color is pretty evenly distributed. Get your model and just squish it down on there, kind of like an impression. And I want to make sure that nothing is peeled up or anything. I just like to kind of form it to where it looks pretty decent. You don't have to. Probably pretty much waiting for it to set up anyway. Alright, let me go wash this activator off my hands and I'll be right back. Okay, it looks set up. One way I can tell is I try to, if it's still setting up, I'd poke holes doing this. So, carefully pull this off. Make sure you don't break any teeth off. Alright, now you got an exact duplicate of what the original teeth look like. Alright, I got a little knife that I use to cut these. And see, I'm cutting the tops of the gingiva off. I'm just cutting a straight line. You want to do this front and back. And what this does, gives you access to put wax in there, and I'll show you in a minute. There. I'm going to cut a little bit out of here because I need to get access to it with my little waxing thing. Okay. So now you can see as long as you see the gingival margin, you're good. To cut little ledges on there, it's just easier to handle. Gives your fingers a little grip. Knife. Okay. I'm going to score them. And if you hadn't seen my previous videos, the reason you score them is you're pretty much going to break these out of here, and you want them to break right along your score line. So they do this with like glass and stuff. So they score the glass and then they pop, you know, like a spy movie, you know, they score the glass in a circle and then they pop the circle out, and it's pretty much just the glass breaking along that score line. Same thing with this. On to the next phase, which is cutting these teeth out. Alright. Now, to get a more detailed view of how to cut teeth out, be sure and watch my spring retainer part 1 video. I think I cut teeth out in that one. So, I have my round burr here. I'm just going to poke a hole in the gingiva between the teeth. Make sure it comes out in the spot you want it. Don't come out in the middle of the tooth. Now, the reason I poke a hole through there, or kind of drill a hole, is I like to use this cutting burr to cut the teeth out. And you'll see why. I can get really far up into the gums without touching the teeth. So, let's see if I can. Just be real careful. Do not cut the teeth, or else you'll be waxing it in. Okay, so remember, we scored it. So it should break right along that score mark, or right in between the teeth. So there we go. I have extracted a tooth without Novocaine. That's a joke for the dentists out there watching this. Don't y'all wish extracting a tooth was this easy? This is getting in my way right here. So I'm just going cut it. It's very important you have sharp burrs. If your burrs start getting dull, throw them away, get new ones. You do not want to be doing this precise work with dull burrs, trust me. But it also helps if this is probably plaster. I mean, it's really easy to mark up. So what I'm doing here is I'm just making like retention grooves for the wax, so it'll hold in there better. Same thing with the bottom of these. Oh, I did that one. Now, since I am rotating, you see this tooth here, it's like that. Wait, yeah. I'm rotating it like that. See how it's going to hit right there? Alright. So what I like to do is take my just a regular acrylic cross-cut, smooth cut burr and just taper just the gum part. I still don't touch the teeth. I just taper. Now it is a little rough. I'll show y'all in a little bit. You will need to smooth that roughness out. Okay, next step. Okay, I got my teeth here. Got my other teeth here. I'm going to just smooth off the gum part. Now I'm just smoothing this a little bit. I'm not digging in with my knife. Just smoothing. Matrix. And this is what it's for. Take the teeth. I'm just looking at the number and making sure it's in the right place. So get my little waxing. And put a little sticky wax on here. Just a little bit. Alright, now switch to pink wax. I like to set teeth in pink wax. Just putting some in these grooves here. Cool. Okay, what I like to do is I have a little bit of utility wax. And I keep it on my lamp here because it keeps it nice and warm and a little bit sticky. So I'm going to take a little bit of that, put it in these holes. And it's pliable, it's mushy. Pink wax when it's cold is real hard. I need something mushy. I like that word, mushy. So I'm just setting it right on there. Make sure the wax doesn't break. Make sure it's seated all the way. You can tell by where that's at. And just kind of push it down until it all looks seated. And there you go. Now, just fill in with wax. I'll fill all this in with wax and I'll be right back. Alright, I have now finished waxing all this in. I didn't fill it in all the way, not yet. But I did try to get it in all the way through to the other side. Alright, I've let it cool a little bit. And I'm going to just remove this sticky wax. And we'll pull this matrix off and we'll see what we got. Can't get to that one. There we go. Alright. There we go. Now, here's the beauty of it. This is exactly the way the teeth came from the office. So, we have just made these teeth mobile but set in wax so they can be moved. Now, I think I can move this in one tray, this in 2 trays. So, the wax is still a little warm. I straighten that tooth. It needs to come back distal a little bit. A little more. Let me there we go. And I make sure my levels are on. Now I like to use this little cinder thing to reheat the wax, because they'll cool on you some. I like to fill it in with wax. Alright, so that one is going to get fixed with the first tray. Okay? And again, what I'm doing is sealing it in. Okay, this one I can probably only go about halfway. Alright? So that's what I'm going to do. There. See if I can get that distal in a little bit. Try not to fix it all the way. Keep your levels the same. So then the next tray, what I'm probably going to do is rotate this. I don't want to try to do too much with one tray. But the first tray, let that wax off of there. See how I need to take this, rotate it that way? I'm going to do a little bit this time. Get my waxer in, my wax tool here. Oop, I went the wrong way. Made it worse. I'm pushing with my thumb. There we go. And it is still. Now you can always check with this to see how close you are on my camera here. So what I'm going to do is fill in the wax here and then duplicate it. And that'll be the first tray. I'll do a suck down on that, and then I'll come back, warm up the wax again, and make everything perfect, and then do a second tray. The way I duplicate is I do just an alginate impression using an impression tray. So first things first, I like to soak my models. Helps get rid of trapped air. You see those bubbles popping up? You may get that in your alginate. So and it helps release the surface tension. And it also, if you can get this water in a couple millimeters into the stone, then you won't be sucking the water out of the alginate. So I've always just found that soaking this for a few minutes will help with getting you a better impression. So we'll let this soak. Okay, we got the two models here. We got this one that we took an impression of, And here's the impression in the new port up model. Let's see how it turned out. Try not to break any teeth off. Alright, so there we go. Easy enough. The other way of doing this is I've done it like this before. Set this to ideal the first time before you duplicate it. And then when it's perfectly ideal, you take an impression, duplicate it. Alright, then you got the final copy, what the final tray is going to look like, the end result of all this tooth moving. And then you come back and you make the teeth crooked. And so what I usually do is take these teeth out, put them back in here, in this matrix, put them back on here, and it resets it back to original crooked teeth. And then I'll go somewhere in between the perfect and the crooked and do it that way. But this way I did it where I just moved it a little bit, took an impression, duplicated it, and now I'm going to just go ahead and straighten this to perfect, and I can duplicate it again, or I have some light cure. The thing is, when you do a suck down, the wax won't hold the teeth because the suck down's hot, and it will melt the wax and the teeth have a chance to move. So what I like to do is just carve some of this wax away after I set this to perfect, put some light cure in there, and I'll show you how to do that. But first things first, need to reset this tooth to perfect. So I'm just taking my little waxing gadget here. I like it because it's real thin and I can get in between the teeth. Alright, so that should be enough. Nope, not enough. I did the previous videos last night, so the wax is really cold. Usually if you can do all this at one time, you know, the wax will stay warm and be easier to move. Now, what I'm noticing is it's hitting pretty good right here. So I think I'm going to have to take off some tooth material to get this to fit. And what I'll do is I'll write a note to the doctor saying, hey, I had to strip between these two teeth. So let me show you how to do that real quick. Okay, so I have a stripping disc here. You see how thin that is? I believe it's 0.2 of a millimeter thick. And so I can tell the doctor I stripped between the two teeth 0.2 of a millimeter. And so it's just right on the edge. I believe this is an actual one they use in the mouth to strip between teeth. So just slow rotations, not too high speed, and just go down till you don't feel any more resistance. Now only the edge has grit on it, so it's not going to be still cutting it here. It just make the initial cut here, and then as the tooth passes through, it won't remove any more tooth material. So there we go. I wonder if you can see that gap. Now let's see if that tooth moves. Yep, moved right into position. Perfect, that's all we needed. So let me make my notes to the doctor and we'll finish this up. Okay, we got that squared away, got it stripped, made my notes to the doctor. And what I'm doing now is just kind of reheating the wax, just to kind of let it release any I don't know how to explain it, any kind of resistance in there. Just kind of resetting it so the wax doesn't cool and pull the tooth back to where I don't want it. Perfect. Okay, I'm not worried about filling in with wax because I'm going to do it with light cured material called triad material. And really what it is just light cured acrylic. And it can withstand the high temperatures of a thermoforming machine. So what I'm doing is I'm just trying to remove some extra wax so that the tri material has some stone to grab a hold of, and I won't be making it too thick. So again, you can duplicate this again, make you another model, but if you're usually in a hurry like me and the doctor doesn't request, you know, he assumes the model is going to be destroyed anyway, I just like to light cure the wax, pretty much just coat the wax in light cure so that the tooth will not move in the Biostar or the thermoforming machine. Okay, so let me put some light cure on here. Okay, I have my triad gel, and what I'm going to do is just squirt a little bit on here, and then I'll doctor it up with my spatula. Just make sure it covers most of the wax, so that if the wax does melt, there's enough triad holding the rest of the tooth on. Alright, so what I'm looking for is more trying to mimic the gum some. Again, you're going to be cutting this right here, so you're mainly looking to see that these aren't too depressed in there, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Okay? Alright, let's light cure it. In my old school light curing machine. Hopefully this won't hurt your eyes. And I give it a few seconds. And I'm going to do that on the lingual side and the facial side. So I'll just skip this part so I don't waste hard drive space. I'm in the back room where the Biostar is. Let me turn this on. Thought I'd go ahead and shoot a video on how I do my Essex, or my thermoforming material. And so I have it light cured, and I have it marked off to where I want to cut it. I've picked off the bubbles on this one and on the duplicate model, and as you can tell, I put a little bit of separator on there. Now usually you don't need separator for the Essex material, but especially this Essex material, which I need to stop calling it that because that's a brand name like Kleenex. This is by Foresadent. It's track A, 1 millimeter thick. And the coolest thing about this is it looks a little hazy, but that's because it has, you know, if I can focus on this, see that little film on there? You put that facing up, facing the heating element. I know it sounds weird, but you're actually going to do the suck down with this towards the teeth. Alright? And I'll explain after I finish one of these. Okay, we got the two models, the in-between model with the slightly crooked tooth and the other fixed tooth, and the final model. So one thing you may want to do is mark these so that you know which because sometimes once you get these off the model, you can't tell which one goes first. So you can kind of tell by this has a little crooked tooth in this one. So, like I said previously, I'm just going to pry this off. Let me go with this one first. It's cooler. What I'll do is I'll finish one for you, show you how I finish mine. Now, the secret to pulling these off is don't generate heat. That's the secret. I like to get these shears, which I get from Great Lakes. Just get my initial cut. When I worked for a doctor, when I was an assistant, I used to make these. And we had crown and bridge shears, and I would just go ahead and cut here with some crown and bridge shears. But I can't find myself any good ones lately. I don't know why. Again, you can see why some people like to duplicate this last tray, so that, because you will get broken teeth. And you know, the other method is, you know, use some sort of cut and burr or something and cut this and then pry it off that way, but I still find that, you know, I break off teeth that way too. Let's see if I can find my burr here. There we go. This is, I think I've shown y'all this before. I use it to cut teeth out. It's cut and burr. Okay, I'm going to try to do this real quick because I'm running out of hard drive space on my phone. So, pretty much what I'm doing is just cutting this down to where I want it, and then I'll smooth it. Okay, after I do the bulk trimming with that burr, I like to use these Dymo Pro wheels from Great Lakes just to smooth the edges. Check it with my fingers, make sure it's good. Alright, now, here's the fun part. Remember that film I was telling you about? You see this thing? Sometimes it's hard to get up, but once you get it up, should peel right out. How cool is that? Alright, pretty much done. All I do is I high shine this, like with the acrylic. Don't pumice, I just high shine. And then I take a toothbrush with toothpaste and clean out the inside. So there is tray number 2, the final tray. And that's it. Hope that helps.